Video coverage of this year's National FFA Convention is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions in Cozad and Elwood. The National FFA Convention and Expo is getting underway, and we're joined now by Carson Reiman of the Gothenburg FFA Chapter, who is competing at this year's convention in Creed Speaking. Carson, for those who aren't familiar, tell us a little bit more about this competition, first of all.
So Creed Speaking is an event where you say the FFA Creed in front of a room full of people, and then the Creed usually takes about 3 to 4 minutes, and then after you've said the Creed, they give you about 5 minutes to answer questions about how some certain topics relate to the Creed, and a little bit of questions about what your opinions in agriculture.
So, what have you learned so far as being part of the Creed Speaking competition? What have you learned about yourself?
So I've learned a lot of the things that I really like to do. I've learned more about myself as a speaker, mainly. So before I did Creed Speaking, I'd say my favorite part of doing a speech was actually writing the speech. But with Creed Speaking, everybody says the exact same creed, so there's nothing to write. And I realized that I actually like answering the questions a lot more and doing a little bit more impromptu stuff than I realized that I did before. So that was kind of interesting for me.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so for people who have not yet competed in Creed Speaking and aren't familiar with that, what kinds of questions are they asking you?
So most of the time, the questions usually have something to do to relate with the creed, but sometimes they can be just about any random topic in agriculture. A lot of times now they ask things about like carbon emissions, how agriculture relates to social media, and a lot of consumer idealism, different topics like that. And if you can, it's really good to try and relate a lot of those directly back to the creed, but sometimes you can't. So the questions are just about anything in agriculture pretty much, and they really like to hear your thoughts on them.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that is going to be a big focus of your national convention this year, but I'm sure not the only thing you're doing. What else are you looking forward to in Indy?
So I'm really looking forward to the food in Indy, to be honest with you. Indianapolis has got some pretty good food, so that's probably my favorite part. But probably the coolest thing for me to really see is the amount of people in blue jackets that all gather in Lucas Oil Stadium. When you get to look in there, and I mean, we usually get front row seats at the convention. That's a pretty amazing experience. You look back behind you and you see about 60,000 kids all in the same official dress you have, and it's pretty neat.
Pretty powerful, I'm sure. Yeah, most definitely. Well, Carson, you have made yourself known with your supervised agricultural experience. Tell us more a little bit about that, how you've seen it evolve, and what that looks like for you.
All right, so my SAE is called Reiman Spuds. So if you can't tell by the name, I grow potatoes. I've got about an acre just north of my house that I rented from a local farmer. And I weed, water, and care for the potatoes all the year until I can sell them. I sell direct to consumer, and I also sell to the grocery store and a few local restaurants in town. Actually, just last night, we're right in the middle of potato harvest right now. So this entire week, I've been going pretty hard trying to get stuff done. I was stay up late, midnight oil, that type thing. So I got almost 4,000 or 5,000 pounds of potatoes harvested just this week alone. So we're going pretty hard, and it's going pretty well. So.
That's crazy. Well, I know you're only a sophomore, Carson, but when you think about your future, what do you hope to do, and how do you see FFA playing a role in that?
So something that I really think I'm passionate about is doing things with my own business. I figured out that I really like being my own boss, and I like that type of work. So in the future, I'll probably go down some route pertaining to ag entrepreneurship or agriculture in general. And then really what FFA has shown me is that I like communicating with people, and I really like talking to people. So I'd almost probably want to be sort of like an ag salesman or something along those lines. Something that I get really involved with people, and something where I get to see people every single day.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, Carson, the Gothenburg FFA chapter is very prominent, very strong. For those who aren't involved in the organization yet, what's your words of advice to them?
Try everything. Just about every event in FFA, just about everything that you like, there's an event that pertains to it. If you like dairy, we've got an entire array of dairy things. If you like cattle, there's a million different livestock judging events. So really find what you like and don't be afraid to try new things.
Most definitely. Great advice. All right, Carson, is there anything we missed that's important to mention to this conversation?
Before we go, I'd really like to mention, and I'd really like to thank both of my advisors, Mrs. Mosel and then Mrs. Brown. They've helped me a lot with my Creed Speaking, and they've also helped me a lot in some of the different competitions that I do with an FFA. So I think it's important they get a little recognition.
All right. Well, best of luck in Indianapolis, Carson. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
That again, Carson Reiman joining us. He's a sophomore at Gothenburg. He's competing in Creed Speaking at this year's National FFA Convention.